a secluded compound nestled within the shifting lands, the unmistakable buzz of activity signaled the final countdown. General Victor Cross stood motionless before a vast, illuminated table, the flickering holographic map reflecting the cold glint in his calculating eyes. Around him, his commanders spoke in clipped tones, their voices laced with urgency and grim resolve. The paramilitary force under his command was unlike anything Elias had ever faced. Disciplined, well-armed, and ruthless. Cross's scarred face betrayed none of the turmoil that might have racked a lesser man. His mind was focused entirely on one objective: to seize the living map and harness its power to reshape the world. Every soldier, every mercenary, every piece of equipment was being consolidated for a final, devastating push. The shifting borders on the map before him seemed to echo the fluidity of his ambition. Nothing was fixed, everything was in flux, just like the lands that hid the secrets he so desperately sought to claim. Meanwhile, miles away in a hidden sanctuary carved into the crumbling remains of an ancient fortress, Elias Mercer moved with a different kind of urgency. His lean frame was bent over a battered wooden table strewn with maps, notes, and the ever-changing living map itself. Beside him, Lena Dawes paced briskly, her short black hair catching the low light as she offered sharp, pragmatic counsel. Their whispered voices cut through the stillness, weaving plans amidst the shadows. "We don't have long," Lena said, her tone crisp but edged with concern. "Cross won't wait for us to be ready." Elias nodded, his sharp eyes behind round glasses flicking between the shifting lines of the map. "I know, but rushing in without a plan is exactly what he wants. We need to be smarter than that." "Smart and fast," Lena countered, folding her arms. "Otherwise, we're just bait." Their exchange was interrupted by the arrival of Professor Haroun Malik, who shuffled in, clutching his leather satchel filled with notes and ancient texts. His graying beard was unkempt, and his eyes sparkled with a mix of excitement and anxiety. "If I may," he began, "the history embedded in this region suggests hidden sanctuaries, places where the map's power could be protected or lost forever. We must consider these as fallback points." Elias absorbed the professor's words, weighing every possibility. Despite the academic's eccentricity, his knowledge was invaluable. "Good thinking, Haroun. We'll map out those sites next." Outside, the sound of the restless land was a constant reminder of the world's volatility. Marco Silva led a reconnaissance team through the treacherous terrain, his keen eyes scanning every shift in the earth and sky. The wind carried faint echoes of distant movements across his forces, no doubt closing in with the inevitability of a storm. Marco's voice crackled softly over the comms. "All clear on this side, but the terrain's changing faster than usual. Watch your step." Back in the sanctuary, Jade Kim's fingers danced across a keyboard, her face illuminated by the glow of multiple monitors streaming intercepted transmissions and satellite feeds. Her expertise in technology was a vital counterpoint to the ancient mysteries they pursued. "I've picked up Chattercross is moving his main force tonight," she reported. "They're closing the ring." Lena's eyes narrowed. "Then we have to be ready before then. No room for mistakes." Elias took a deep breath, feeling the weight of responsibility settle firmly on his shoulders. The map before him pulsed faintly, as if aware of the storm gathering beyond their walls. "Prepare the team," he said steadily. "This is the moment we've been heading toward." Over the next hours, the group worked feverishly, checking weapons, reviewing routes, and reinforcing defenses. The fragile camaraderie forged through trials and betrayals was tested again. But beneath the surface, a steady current of trust held them together. As night deepened, Elias found a quiet moment to step outside, the cold wind biting at his weathered face. The shifting lands stretched endlessly before him, a landscape alive and unpredictable. The stars overhead were obscured by rolling clouds, but somewhere beyond the darkness, the dawn would come with new revelations. In his heart, Elias knew the coming battle would be more than a clash of men and machines. It was a confrontation of ideals, a test of the fragile balance between knowledge and power. The map was not just a tool or a prize. It was a living testament to the world's fluidity, a symbol of endless pursuit and eternal mystery. As the first distant echoes of Cross's advancing forces reached his ears, Elias squared his shoulders and turned back toward his companions. There was no turning back now. The gathering storm was upon them, and the fate of the map and perhaps the world itself would be decided in the crucible to come. The air crackled with anticipation, every heartbeat echoing the unspoken question: who would emerge victorious when the shifting lands settled once more? And with that, the battle for the living map began. Beneath the sprawling canopy of stars, Elias Mercer sat near the flickering campfire, the light dancing across his weathered face and the round glasses perched on his nose. Around him, the group assembled a patchwork of personalities and histories, bound by the living map and the peril it represented. Lena Dawes leaned forward, her sharp eyes reflecting the flames as she outlined the latest intelligence. "We can't underestimate Cross," she said, her voice low but resolute. "Hayes gathering forces we haven't yet seen." Elias nodded, the weight of leadership settling heavily on his shoulders. "We need allies, but we must choose carefully. One wrong move and everything we've fought for could collapse." Professor Harun Malik shuffled through a leather satchel, producing a worn parchment covered in ancient symbols. The map's patterns hint at hidden sanctuaries, places where we might find aid or refuge. He offered, his voice tinged with excitement despite the looming danger. But time is not on our side. Marco Silva, his rugged features shadowed by the firelight, spoke up with his familiar pragmatism. "I know the terrain better than anyone. We can use that to our advantage. But Cross's men are relentless. We'll have to be smarter, faster." Jade Kim's fingers danced over a compact communication device, her expression tightening as a sudden crackle interrupted the evening calm. "Incoming message," she announced, eyes scanning the encrypted code that streamed across her screen. "It's unexpected. There's talk of an alliance forming against us. Not just Cross's faction, but others we haven't encountered." A hush fell over the group, the flickering flames suddenly seeming insufficient against the darkening prospects. Elias exchanged a glance with Lena, her usual dry wit replaced by a somber seriousness. "This isn't just a battle for the map anymore," Elias mused aloud. "It's becoming a war for control over the very origin of the world." Far from their camp, on the jagged cliffs overlooking the shifting territories, General Victor Cross surveyed his assembled forces. His scarred face was set in a cold, calculating expression, eyes narrowed against the biting wind. The setting sun cast long shadows behind him, the military regalia he wore snapping sharply in the gusts. "Prepare the men," he ordered, voice steel hard. "The time to seize the map's power is at hand. No failures this time." Back at camp, the storm clouds gathered on the horizon, mirroring the brewing conflict. Lena reached out, placing a steady hand on Elias's arm. "We've come this far together," she said quietly. "Whatever happens next, we face it as one." Elias met her gaze, a flicker of trust and understanding passing between them. "Then let's make sure we're ready. For all of us." As the night deepened, plans were laid and strategies debated, the fragile bonds of alliance, both a source of strength and a potential fault line. The living map, ever unpredictable in its dawn transformations, seemed to pulse with a rhythm that matched the urgency in their hearts. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new betrayals, and perhaps new hope. The stars above bore silent witness to the gathering storm, a prelude to the battle that would decide not just the fate of a map, but the future of the world itself. Yet even in the swirling uncertainty, Elias felt a fierce resolve kindle within him, an unyielding belief that knowledge, courage, and trust could tip the scales. The path ahead was fraught with peril, but it was the only path he could walk. And so, beneath the watchful heavens, the lines between allies and enemies blurred, setting the stage for a confrontation that would test every strength and shatter every doubt. The battle lines were drawn. The endless pursuit marched onward. It was thick with a silent energy, a tangible hum that seemed to pulse through the crystalline walls, casting an otherworldly glow that shifted with the movement of their footsteps. As their boots touched the ancient stone floor, the map in Elias's hands began to glow softly, its lines flowing and redrawing themselves in rhythm with the cavern's breath. The group moved forward cautiously, senses heightened by a mixture of wonder and unspoken dread. Elias's eyes scanned the vast chamber, taking in the swirling glyphs etched deep into the cavern walls. These symbols, some faint, others blazing with light, seemed to tell a story older than time itself. The map had led them here, to the cradle of the world's origin, a place whispered of only in the most obscure legends. Yet, standing here, amidst the echo of ancient voices carved into stone, the reality of those legends felt overwhelming. Professor Malik was the first to break the reverent silence. His fingers traced the intricate patterns on a colossal stone altar situated at the chamber's heart. His voice, though soft, carried the weight of a lifetime of scholarship and passion. "This," he murmured, "is the nexus of creation as our ancestors envisioned it." The symbols described the forces that shaped the earth, the skies, even time itself. Elias leaned closer, his breath visible in the cool cavern air. The altar's carvings depicted a swirling dance of elements, fire, water, earth, and air intertwined with strange, celestial shapes that resonated with the shifting designs on the map. It was as if the altar was a physical manifestation of the map's living essence. But this is more than myth, Malik continued, his eyes shining with a fervent light. It's a record, a mechanism. The map is not merely a guide, it's a key. Lena's sharp gaze swept the cavern's entrance, her stance unyielding. "We're not alone," she whispered, tension clear in her voice. "Cross's men are close. We need to move quickly." Marco nodded, his familiarity with the unpredictable terrain evident in his calm demeanor. "The land shifts, but the cradle remains constant, at least for now. We must uncover what the map wants us to see before it's too late." Jade's fingers danced over a compact device, monitoring faint signals on the outskirts of their position. "They're approaching fast. We have minutes, maybe less." Elias swallowed hard, the weight of their mission pressing down upon him. The map pulsed in his hands, now radiating a warm, intense light that seemed to sync with the beat of his heart. The final transformation was underway. Suddenly, the altar's carvings began to glow, the symbols shifting and aligning with the map's luminous patterns. A low vibration filled the chamber, a deep, resonant hum that shook the very air. The ground beneath them trembled slightly, and a shaft of light burst forth from the altar, illuminating a hidden compartment. Inside lay an ancient tome, its leather cover embossed with the same emblem now glowing on the map, a radiant sigil that seemed to embody the essence of the cradle itself. Elias reached out, fingers trembling as he opened the book. The pages within were filled with strange diagrams, celestial charts, and text in a language that felt both foreign and deeply familiar. "This is the origin," Elias whispered, or thick in his voice. "Not just of the world, but of knowledge itself." Malik leaned in, eyes wide. "It's the foundation of all we understand about our place in the cosmos. This knowledge has been guarded here, waiting for the right moment and the right person to reveal it." But the moment was not theirs alone. A distant rumble echoed through the cavern entrance footsteps, voices, the unmistakable clatter of weapons. Cross's forces were upon them. "We have to decide," Lena said urgently. "Do we safeguard this secret here, or take it with us and risk it falling into the wrong hands?" Elias's mind raced. The map's power was beyond anything he had imagined. It could change the course of history, but it could also unleash devastation if misused. His fingers tightened around the map's glowing surface, a silent vow forming in his heart. "We protect it," he said firmly. "No one else must wield this power. Not Cross, not anyone." The group prepared to defend the cradle, their resolve hardening as the shadows of their pursuers grew nearer. In this place where the world had begun, Elias understood that their journey was only just beginning. The cradle had revealed its secrets, but with revelation came responsibility and a battle that would decide the fate of knowledge, power, and the very origins of their world. As the first clash of steel echoed through the cavern, Elias glanced once more at the radiant emblem glowing in his hands. The map had brought them here, but it demanded vigilance and courage for what lay ahead. The cradle of the world was no longer just a legend, was their battleground, their sanctuary, and the key to a future that was still unfolding. And as dawn crept over the shifting lands outside, Elias knew that the story of the map and of their lives was far from over. Its walls shimmered faintly, the ancient glyphs pulsating softly as if breathing alongside the living map that rested on a stone pedestal at its heart. The air was thick with dust and anticipation, the scent of damp stone mingling with the sharp temps of gunmetal. Around us, Cross's paramilitary forces formed a tight ring, their weapons trained and eyes cold with ruthless intent. I stood beside the pedestal, my heart hammering not just with fear but with the immense responsibility pressing down on me. The map's surface rippled beneath my fingertips, lines redrawing themselves in a hypnotic dance of shifting lands and cryptic symbols. This was the culmination of every step of this journey, the final gambit to secure the secret that could shape the world's fate. "Elias," Lena whispered, her voice taut but steady as she crouched beside me, scanning the edges of the chamber for threats. Her sharp eyes flicked toward the advancing mercenaries led by Captain Rourke, a grim reminder of the danger closing in. "We don't have much time." I nodded, swallowing the lump of dread rising in my throat. "Just a little longer." "Malik, what do you have?" Professor Malik, his graying beard dusted with stone, was hunched over the inscriptions carved into the chamber's walls. He muttered translations under his breath, voice rising in excitement and frustration. "These glyphs, they speak of a balance, a covenant between the map and the world. To unlock its power fully, one must understand not just geography, but the essence of origin itself. And you think I can do that?" I asked, glancing down at the living map, its glowing pathways beckoning yet elusive. "You must," Malik said firmly. "If Cross controls the map, the world will be reshaped in blood and iron." Suddenly, a roar shattered the tense silence. Captain Rourke signaled his mercenaries forward, and the chamber erupted into chaos. Lena was at my side in an instant, firing with precision, each shot ringing out and echoing against the stone as we fought to hold the line. The flicker of torchlights cast long shadows, the air charged with the clash of wills and gunfire. Amid the cacophony, I focused on the map, tracing its shifting lines, searching for the pattern Malik's words hinted at. Symbols rearranged themselves like a puzzle, a living enigma demanding both speed and insight. My fingers trembled but did not falter. Cross stepped forward, his scarred face a mask of cold calculation. "Give me the map, Mercer," he said, his voice low and commanding. "You don't understand the power you're holding. It can bring real order to a chaotic world. Order built on domination and fear." I shot back, meeting his icy gaze. "That's not the balance this map represents." He sneered, signaling his men to press harder. The ground beneath us vibrated as if the earth itself responded to the map's turmoil. Time blurred. Between the gunfire and the shifting earth, I pieced together the final secret the Covenant Malik spoke of was not just a key, but a warning. The map's power could only be wielded through harmony with the land's true nature, not through force. With a decisive motion, I traced the ultimate path on the map. The chamber brightened, glyphs glowing fiercely, and a pulse radiated outward. Cross's forces faltered, caught in an invisible grip of ancient power. "No," Cross roared, lunging forward, but it was too late. The map's secret had been unlocked not to grant control, but to protect. The shifting lands responded, sealing the cradle from exploitation. Breathless and shaken, I looked at Lena and Malik. We had won this battle, but the war for the map's future was only beginning. "This is just the beginning," I said, voice heavy with both awe and dread. "The map will keep shifting, and so must we." As the echoes of conflict faded, I felt the weight of guardianship settle upon my shoulders. The world's origin was not a fixed point, but a living story, one I was now sworn to protect, no matter the cost. The dawn awaited, and with it, new paths and challenges. But for now, in this ancient cradle, we had held the line, and the map had chosen its guardian. The battle at the world's cradle was not merely one of bullets and brute force. It was a clash of ideals and intellect, a desperate gambit where every second counted. The living map, ever restless, was both a beacon and a burden, its secrets, elusive yet vital. From the moment we descended into the cavern, the atmosphere was electric. The air was cool but heavy, filled with the scent of ancient stone and the metallic temps of anticipation. The walls bore the scars of time, etched with symbols that spoke of origins and balance, of power wielded wisely and the destruction wrought when ambition overreaches. Cross's forces were precise and deadly, their mercenaries moving with practiced efficiency. But they underestimated the bond forged between Lena, Malik, and me, a trio united by a shared purpose beyond mere survival. Lena's quick reflexes and combat prowess kept us alive, her sharp commands cutting through the chaos. Malik's frantic deciphering was our intellectual lifeline, his voice a thread pulling me through the labyrinth of meaning hidden in the glyphs. And I, the cartographer, was the key, my knowledge of shifting maps and patterns, the final piece in this desperate puzzle. The map's surface was alive beneath my touch, pathways glowing and fading, symbols rearranging in a mesmerizing dance. Each dawn had brought new revelations, new challenges, but this was the moment of truth. The map demanded understanding beyond the physical, to grasp the essence of origin itself. As I traced the ultimate path, a surge of energy radiated from the pedestal, illuminating the chamber in a radiant glow. The earth trembled, ancient mechanisms awakening as if recognizing the rightful guardian. Cross's rage was palpable as his plans unraveled before him. His vision of domination, forged in the fires of loss and ambition, met the unyielding reality of the map's covenant. In the final moments, trust and sacrifice converged. Lena covered my back with unwavering resolve. Molek's insights illuminated the path, and I embraced the responsibility laid upon me. The map's secret was not a weapon, but a guardian's charge to protect the fragile balance of knowledge and power, history and future. As the echoes of battle faded and the dawn light filtered into the cavern, I stood resolute. The world would keep shifting, the map would keep redrawing itself, and I would stand watch, ever vigilant, ever ready. The final gambit was won, but the endless pursuit continued. Dust and smoke choked the air, mingling with the sharp metallic temps of blood and the faint scent of burnt wood. I crouched behind a shattered column, clutching the map tightly in my hands, its surface pulsing faintly with an otherworldly light that seemed to synchronize with the frantic beating of my heart. Around me, Lena's voice cut through the chaos, steady and commanding as she directed our scattered defenders. Hold the eastern corridor. Malik, cover the rear. Marco, Jade, coordinate the perimeter. Her orders were crisp, practiced. The battlefield was her domain, now as much as mine was the map. Despite the pounding in my chest and the roaring in my ears, I forced myself to focus. The map's shifting paths were less erratic now, seeming to respond to the unfolding conflict, as if aware that the stakes had never been higher. I glanced over at Malik, who was hunched over a hastily drawn chart, his graying beard damp with sweat. His eyes, usually twinkling with eccentric enthusiasm, were sharp and intense. "Elias," he murmured, stepping closer, "the knowledge we've uncovered this is not just ancient history. It's a legacy that demands guardianship. You must trust in a sand in yourself." His words resonated deeply. Cutting through the fog of doubt that had shadowed me since the first dawn, I discovered the map's secret. Trust had always been my Achilles heel. The wounds of past betrayals lingered like shadows at the edge of my vision. But here, amidst the crumbling stones and the echo of battle, I felt the fragile threads of alliance binding us together. A sudden explosion rocked the chamber, sending a shower of dust and debris into the air. I turned just in time to see a group of Cross's mercenaries breaking through a weakened wall. The mercenary leader, Captain Rourke, snarled as he charged forward, his eyes like cold steel. The clash was brutal and immediate. Marco and Jade sprang into action, their movements synchronized from months of shared peril. Jade's fingers danced over her communication device, calling for reinforcements and relaying enemy positions, while Marco wielded his machete with practiced precision. But then chaos deepened. Lena intercepted an enemy soldier's blade meant for me, her body twisting instinctively to shield mine. The sickening sound of metal-piercing flesh cut through the din. She staggered, pain flashing across her face, but her eyes held fierce defiance. "Keep moving, Elias," she gasped, voice strained but resolute. Time slowed. I dropped beside her, heart pounding, hands trembling as I pressed my coat against the wound. Around us, the battle raged on, but in that moment, all I could hear was the ragged rhythm of her breathing and the distant roar of conflict. "You're not leaving me," I said, voice unsteady, but she smiled, faint and fierce, before closing her eyes. That sacrifice pierced through my uncertainty like a blade. The weight of responsibility settled on my shoulders with unbearable clarity. I was not just a seeker of knowledge anymore, I was its guardian. I looked down at the map, its glow steady and unwavering, and felt a surge of resolve. "We hold the line," I called out, voice stronger now. "For Lena, for the map, for the truth." The defenders rallied, their spirits lifted by renewed determination. Moloch's voice rose in rallying cries. Marco and Jade fought with relentless grit. And even as Cross's forces pressed harder, our unity forged a bulwark against the tide. Later, as the dust settled and the echoes of battle faded to a haunting silence, I knelt beside Lena's resting place. The map lay open on the stone floor, its shifting lines now calm, as if sensing the fragile peace. I traced the intricate pathways with a trembling finger, the journey ahead more daunting than ever. Yet in that moment of sorrow and triumph, I understood that trust, once my greatest vulnerability, was now my strongest weapon. And sacrifice, though bitter, was the price of protecting the fragile balance between discovery and destruction. The dawn outside was breaking, painting the sky with hues of gold and crimson. The map shimmered in the early light, revealing new paths, new secrets, and I, Elias Mercer, stood ready to walk them, no longer alone, no longer hesitant. The endless pursuit continued, but now I carried the weight and the hope of a guardian. The battle was far from over. But as I rose, steeling myself for the trials ahead, I knew one truth would guide me. Only through trust and sacrifice could the map's power be protected from those who would wield it for ruin, and I would fight to the last breath to ensure that legacy endured.